You just watched a video someone took of you. Or maybe you heard a voice note you sent. Or saw yourself on a Zoom call recording, and the second you heard your own voice, you cringed. Hard. That is not my voice. That does not sound like me at all. Do I actually sound like that to everyone? You wanted to crawl out of your own skin. You wanted to delete the video immediately. You wanted to pretend it never existed. And now you cannot stop thinking about it. Every conversation you have ever had, every phone call, every job interview, every first date, everyone heard this strange alien voice that apparently belongs to you. But here's the thing. This is not just you being insecure. Almost everyone hates the sound of their own recorded voice. There is actual science behind why this happens. Your brain is not being dramatic. Something real is going on. So let me show you what is actually happening when you hear yourself on a recording and want to disappear. I break down the weird, normal stuff everyone does but nobody talks about. Today we are exploring why your recorded voice makes you cringe. What is actually different about the sound you hear, and why everyone else thinks you sound completely normal while you think you sound like a broken robot. This one might actually make you feel better about yourself. Here is the first thing you need to understand. You hear your own voice differently than everyone else hears it. Literally. The physics of how sound reaches your ears is completely different when you speak versus when you listen to a recording. When someone else talks to you, the sound travels through the air. It enters your outer ear, goes down your ear canal, hits your eardrum. Your eardrum vibrates and sends the signal to your brain. This is called air conduction. But when you speak, something extra happens. Your vocal cords vibrate. That vibration creates sound waves that go out into the air just like normal. But those vibrations also travel through your skull, through your bones, directly to your inner ear. This is called bone conduction. And bone conduction changes everything. When sound travels through your skull and bones, it gets modified. The lower frequencies get boosted, the bass gets enhanced. Your voice sounds deeper and richer and fuller to you because of this internal bone vibration. So your whole life you have been hearing a version of your voice that has extra bass. A version that sounds deeper, warmer, more resonant. Then you hear a recording, and the recording only captured the air conduction part, the external sound waves. The version without the bone conduction bass boost. Suddenly your voice sounds higher, thinner, weaker, more nasally, and your brain freaks out. This is not what I sound like. Something is wrong, I hate this. But here's the truth that might hurt a little. The recording is more accurate. The recording is what everyone else hears. Everyone else only gets the air conduction version. They never hear the bone conduction bass boost that you get. So the voice you hate on recordings is actually your real voice. The voice you have been hearing your whole life is the modified version. You have been listening to a filtered, enhanced version of yourself and thought that was reality. Everyone else has always heard the recording version. And they think it sounds completely normal. But your brain has a problem with this. Your brain has spent your entire life building an identity around how you think you sound. Your voice is part of who you are, part of your self-image. Then a recording comes along and tells your brain that the voice you identify with is not the voice you actually have. This creates what psychologists call a self-perception disconnect. The image you have of yourself does not match the reality being presented. And that disconnect feels deeply uncomfortable. It is similar to seeing a photo of yourself that looks weird because the image is not flipped like a mirror. You are used to seeing yourself one way. When reality shows you a different version, your brain resists. With your voice, it is even more intense because you hear your voice constantly. All day, every day. You have had decades of reinforcement telling your brain, this is what I sound like. Then a recording shatters that in seconds. But there is another layer to this. When you hear your recorded voice, you suddenly become hyper-aware of every flaw, every weird pronunciation, every and every time your voice cracked. When you are speaking in real time, you are focused on what you are saying. You do not notice the tiny imperfections in how you sound, But when you hear a recording, you are just listening, analyzing, judging. Every small flaw becomes amplified because that is all you are focused on. And you assume everyone else notices these flaws too. They do not. They are focused on what you are saying, not analyzing your voice like a forensic audio expert. There is also something called the mere exposure effect. The more you are exposed to something, the more you tend to like it. You are exposed to your internal bone conduction voice constantly, so you like it. It feels like home. The recorded voice is unfamiliar. Even though it is still you, it is a version of you that you rarely experience, so it feels wrong, foreign, unsettling. If you listen to recordings of yourself every single day for months, you would eventually get used to it. The cringe would fade. Your brain would accept it. This is actually what happens to podcasters and YouTubers. At first, they all hated their recorded voice. But over time, they got used to it. Now they barely notice. But most people rarely hear themselves recorded. So every time it happens, it feels like a fresh shock. There is also a vulnerability element. And hearing your recorded voice forces you to experience yourself the way others experience you. You lose the comfort of your internal perspective. You become an outsider looking in, and that feels exposed, vulnerable, like someone pulled back a curtain you did not know existed. You start wondering what else you are wrong about. If my voice is different than I thought, what else is different? How I walk, how I laugh, the rabbit hole opens up. But here is what you need to remember. Everyone else is used to your voice. They have always heard the air conduction version. They do not think it sounds weird because to them, it is just you. It is how you have always sounded. The only person who thinks your voice sounds strange is you. Because you are the only person who has been hearing a different version. You are comparing your recorded voice to an internal reference that nobody else has access to. The comparison only exists in your head. When you cringe at a recording, everyone around you is confused. That sounded fine. That sounded like you. What is the problem? The problem is the disconnect between your expectation and reality. But reality is what everyone else has always known. So how do you actually deal with this? First option is exposure. Listen to recordings of yourself more often. The more you hear it, the more your brain accepts it. The cringe fades with familiarity. Second option is reframing. Remind yourself that the recorded voice is the real voice. The voice in your head is the illusion. You are not discovering a flaw. You are just meeting the version of yourself that everyone else already knows and accepts. Third option is acceptance. Almost everyone feels this way. Almost everyone cringes at their recorded voice. You are not uniquely weird. You are experiencing the same universal human phenomenon that nearly everyone experiences. Fourth option is focus shift. When you hear a recording, try to focus on what you are saying, not how you sound. This is what everyone else is doing anyway. They are hearing your words, not analyzing your frequency range. Your recorded voice is not ugly. It is not weird. It is just unfamiliar to you. And unfamiliar feels uncomfortable. But it is still you. It has always been you. It is the you that everyone else knows and recognizes and accepts. The voice in your head is the bonus feature that only you get to hear. Enjoy it. But stop judging the recording by that impossible standard. You sound fine. You always have. You just did not know it. Subscribe if you have ever heard your own voice and questioned your entire existence. Drop a comment telling me the first time you heard your recorded voice and how hard you cringed. Everyone has a story. See you in the next one.